Palm Beach in late March wasn't the postcard paradise people raved about on travel blogs. The sky hung low and gray, like a damp blanket smothering the sun, and the wind off the Atlantic carried a salty bite that stung your eyes if you stood still too long. Barron Trump didn't mind it, though. At 19, he'd grown used to the moody weather of South Florida, a place where the rich hid behind gated estates and the ocean whispered secrets nobody bothered to hear. He sprawled across a leather couch in the Mar-a-Lago living room, all 6'7" of him barely fitting without his legs dangling off the edge. His blonde hair flopped over his forehead, still messy from a morning walk on the beach, and he wore a gray hoodie that smelled faintly of sea salt and sweat. His sneakers, white Nikes with sand ground into the soles, sat kicked off by the coffee table next to a mug of black coffee cooling in the humid air. No sugar, no cream, just the way his dad drank it. Barron figured if it was good enough for Donald Trump, it was good enough for him. He was halfway through scrolling X, mostly memes about the latest political circus, when his phone buzzed hard against the glass table. The screen lit up. "Mom," Barron smirked, swiping to answer. "Hey, Mom, how's the tooth situation going? You dazzling the dentist yet?" Melania's voice slid through the line, smooth as ever but laced with a rare thread of annoyance. "Barron, they wouldn't see me at the dental hospital. They turned me away like I was selling something." Barron sat up, coffee forgotten. "Turned you away? What, did they run out of drills? Spill bleach on you?" He kept his tone light, but his grip tightened on the phone. "No," Melania said, her Slovenian accent sharpening as she spoke. "They said they don't treat patients tied to controversial figures. Something about legal risks. I couldn't even get past the front desk." She paused, then added, "All I wanted was to fix a chipped porcelain crown. It's been clicking against my spoon all week." Barron let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Controversial figures? What's that supposed to mean? They think you're hauling Dad in there with a bullhorn, or me with a reality show crew? That's nuts. You're like the least controversial person in this family." "I know," she replied, her sigh crackling through the speaker. "But they were jittery, Barron. The receptionist kept whispering to someone and the manager wouldn't meet my eyes. It's not just about your father. I think they're hiding something." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the swirling patterns in the coffee mug like they might spell out an answer. "Okay, back up. Tell me exactly what happened." Melania recounted it step by step. She'd driven herself over in her silver Mercedes, using her maiden name, Navs, to book the appointment. Old habit from years of dodging spotlight. The place was Palm Beach Dental Elite, a ritzy joint that bragged about serving CEOs and snowbirds with cash to burn. She'd walked in, heels clicking on marble, and given her name. The receptionist, a twitchy girl named Kelsey, froze, then huddled with a coworker before a manager waddled out, all sweaty palms and tight tie. He'd fed her the line about controversial figures and liability, stammering like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Melania had stared him down, cool as ice, before walking out. "It's ridiculous," she finished. "This is America. I should be able to get a dentist without a background check." Barron nodded, though she couldn't see it. "Yeah, no kidding. Don't worry, Mom, I'll figure this out. Go home. Put your feet up. I've got it from here." He hung up, stood, and stretched, his shadow stretching across the room. Outside, the waves pounded the shore, relentless and restless, mirroring the itch in his gut. "Controversial figures," he muttered, shaking his head. It didn't add up. Palm Beach was crawling with ex-politicians, washed-up actors, and trust fund weirdos, half of them more controversial than his mom, who hadn't tweeted since 2019. No, this was a dodge, a flimsy excuse for something bigger. He grabbed his laptop from the couch, flipped it open, and punched Palm Beach Dental Elite into Google. The site loaded, sleek photos of gleaming teeth, promises of discreet, world-class care. Nothing about banning ex-first ladies. Frowning, he switched to X, his go-to for unfiltered truth. A few scrolls later, he froze on a post from a burner account. "Ex-PB Dental Elite staff here. They've got a locked room in the basement. Sketchy as hell. Ditch VIPs to keep it quiet. Only 5 likes, but it hit like a punch. Barron's jaw clenched. He slammed the laptop shut, snatched his keys from the table, and headed for the door. If they're dodging Mom, he said to the empty room, they're not dodging me. Barron's black SUV growled into the parking lot of Palm Beach Dental Elite, tires spitting gravel as he swung into a spot marked Elite Clients Only. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd bet $100 they didn't mean his kind of elite. The building squatted under the gray March sky, all white stucco and tinted glass, looking more like a Botox clinic than a place to fix teeth. He stepped out, the wind tugging at his gray hoodie, and pulled the hood up over his blonde hair. At 6'7", he wasn't exactly incognito, but he didn't need every retiree with a smartphone snapping pics. Not today. The lobby hit him like a cold slap. Air conditioning cranked to Arctic levels, the faint tinkle of classical music. Beethoven, maybe, the kind his mom played on quiet nights, and a sterile shine on the marble floors that screamed money. A row of potted palms flanked a curved reception desk where a young woman, Kelsey, going by the name tag, sat hunched over a keyboard, her ponytail pulled so tight it looked like it hurt. She was mid-20s, nervous energy radiating off her like heat off asphalt. Barron strode up, planting both hands on the counter with a thud that made her jump. "I need your manager," he said, voice low but sharp enough to cut through the muzak. "Right now." Kelsey's eyes flicked up, then widened into saucers. "Oh, you're, Barron Trump," he finished, no patience for stammering. "My mom, Melania, got turned away this morning. I'm here to find out why." Her face flushed, then drained to a sickly pale, like she'd just remembered a dentist appointment of her own. It's not my call, Mr. Trump. It's policy, I swear." She fumbled for the phone, knocking a stack of appointment cards to the floor. "I'll get someone. Just, hold on." "Policy," Barron echoed, leaning in. "Yeah, I heard. Controversial figures. You want to explain that, or should I guess? Because I'm thinking it's not about her dazzling smile." She froze, hands hovering over the phone, then hissed to a guy lurking nearby, a stocky type with a buzz cut and a clipboard, probably the muscle of this outfit. He shot Barron a wary glance, then bolted for a back office like a rabbit spooked by a hawk. Barron straightened, crossing his arms, and took stock of the room. An older couple sat in the corner, the guy thumbing a Reader's Digest from 2018, the woman peering over bifocals at a crossword. A flat-screen TV bolted to the wall looped an ad for whitening strips, some perky blonde grinning like she'd never tasted coffee. It was all too perfect, too polished, like a stage set begging for a trapdoor to drop. He tapped his foot, counting seconds. 5 minutes later, the manager emerged from the back, a balding guy in his mid-40s with a tie knotted so tight it looked like it was choking him. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the Arctic chill, and he plastered on a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Trump, Gerald Hayes, director here. What a pleasure to meet you. How can I assist?" Barron didn't return the smile. "You can start by telling me why you kicked my mom out. She needed a crown fixed, not a political debate." Hayes clasped his hands, fingers twitching like he was itching to bolt. "Oh, it's a simple misunderstanding, I assure you. We have a policy. No clients linked to, high-profile controversies. It's about protecting our practice. Legal risks, media attention. You understand, I'm sure." Barron raised an eyebrow, tilting his head. "Legal risks? You think my mom's going to sue you over a filling, or call up CNN from the chair? She's not exactly storming barricades, Hayes." "Try again." No, it's not personal," Hayes stammered, wiping his brow with a sleeve. "It's the association, your family's history, elections, headlines. It could draw scrutiny we can't afford. We're a small business just trying to keep things smooth." "Smooth," Barron repeated, his voice dry as the sand outside. "Funny you mention that. I saw something on ex-staffer saying you've got a locked room downstairs. That why you're dodging scrutiny? Hiding something smoother than my mom's smile?" Hayes's smile vanished like someone yanked a plug. His mouth flapped open, then shut, and for a second, Barron thought the guy might faint. That's preposterous. Social media lies. We're a dental practice, nothing more. Then prove it, Barron said, stepping closer. Let me talk to your staff. Or I can call my dad's lawyer. He's got a nose for sniffing out bull. Your pick. Kelsey squeaked from behind the desk, clutching the phone like a lifeline. The old guy in the corner looked up from his magazine, squinting like he'd just tuned in. Hayes swallowed hard, his tie bobbing with the effort. No need for lawyers, he croaked. Let's take this somewhere private. I'll show you there's nothing to worry about. He gestured to a side door, but Barron didn't budge yet, letting the silence stretch until Hayes squirmed. Lead the way, Barron finally said, his tone flat but loaded. Whatever this clown was hiding, he'd drag it into the light, one sweaty step at a time. Gerald Hayes fumbled with a ring of keys, his hands shaking so bad Barron half expected him to drop them. You'll see, Hayes muttered, more to himself than anyone. Nothing down there but storage, old files, spare chairs. He led Barron to a mirrored wall in the lobby, a seamless panel that slid open with a click, revealing a steel door. The key turned, and a narrow staircase spiraled down into darkness, the air growing heavy with each step. Barron followed, his sneakers thudding on metal, the echo bouncing off damp walls. The smell hit him halfway down, antiseptic, sharp and clinical, undercut by something metallic, like rust or blood. His stomach tightened, but he kept his face blank. At the bottom, Hayes flipped a switch. Fluorescent lights flickered on, buzzing like angry bees, and the room snapped into focus. Barron stopped dead, hands jammed in his hoodie pockets, eyes narrowing as he took it in. This wasn't storage. 3 high-tech chairs lined the far wall, each rigged with a spiderweb of wires and sensors. Screens mounted above them flashing numbers, pulse rates, oxygen levels, stuff you'd see in an ICU, not a dentist's office. A bank of computers hummed along one side, screens scrolling data he couldn't decode. In the corner, a glass cabinet glowed faintly, packed with vials of green liquid that shimmered like antifreeze. A steel table sat dead center, littered with tools, scalpels, micro drills, a syringe with a needle long enough to make anyone's skin crawl. Barron turned to Hayes, voice flat. This your spare chairs, huh? Looks more like a sci-fi movie set than a file room. Hayes shuffled back, wiping sweat from his neck. It's research, that's all. Cutting-edge dental innovation. We're developing stronger crowns, faster healing, revolutionary stuff. Revolutionary, Barron said, stepping toward the chairs. He ran a finger along a sensor, watching it beep in response. FDA know about this revolution? Because I'm guessing no. Hayes flinched, his tie practically strangling him now. It's early stages. We're still testing, perfectly legal. Testing on who? Barron cut in, pivoting to face him. Patients who come in for a cleaning and leave with, what, glowing teeth? You guinea pigging people down here? No, Hayes yelped, then backtracked. I mean, not exactly. Volunteers, consenting ones. They sign waivers. It's all above board. Barron snorted, moving to the cabinet. He tapped a vial. Nano Enhancer Batch 9, watching the liquid swirl. Volunteers? Sure. That why you ditched my mom, afraid she'd sign up and blow your little lab wide open? Hayes backed into a chair, nearly tripping. We didn't want her involved. Her name. Your name. It's a lightning rod. Reporters. Lawsuits. We couldn't risk it leaking. Leaking, Barron repeated, pulling out his phone. He started snapping pics, chairs, screens, vials, the whole creepy setup. Too late for that, pal. This is leaking straight to the FBI. Hayes lunged, arms flailing for the phone. You can't. Please, we'll fix her tooth. No charge. Barron sidestepped, grabbing the guy's wrist and twisting just enough to make him yelp. At 6'7", he didn't need much effort. Hayes crumpled like a wet paper towel. Touch me again, Barron said, voice low and cold, and you'll need more than a dentist. Sit down. Hayes obeyed, slumping into a chair, panting. Barron kept shooting, Every angle, every detail. His mind raced, piecing it together. The controversial figures line was a dodge. They weren't scared of lawsuits. They were scared of exposure. This wasn't just about fancy crowns. Those vials, that tech, it screamed black market, maybe worse. He'd heard his dad rant about shady companies pushing untested drugs, raking in billions while the feds played catch-up. Was this one of those? He paused by the table, eyeing the syringe. What's in these? Truth, Hayes. I've got all day. Hayes mumbled, head down. Nanites, micro-machines. They rebuild enamel, strengthen roots. Experimental but safe, I swear. Safe, Barron said, pocketing his phone. Tell that to the volunteers when their teeth start glowing in the dark. We're done here. He turned for the stairs, leaving Hayes a sweaty heap. This wasn't over, not by a long shot.
Barron climbed the stairs, the vial of green nano-enhancer tucked in his hoodie pocket. Hayes, too, rattled to notice it missing. The lobby felt surreal after the basement, all bright lights and fake calm, like stepping out of a nightmare into a sitcom. Kelsey gawked from the desk as he strode past, Hayes trailing behind, babbling apologies. We'll make it right, Mr. Trump. Please, no lawyers. Barron didn't break stride, shoving the steel door shut with a clang that echoed through the room. Back in his SUV, he dialed the family lawyer, Mike Russo, a pit bull in a pinstripe suit who'd handled worse than this. Mike, it's Barron. Got a situation at Palm Beach Dental Elite. Illegal lab, shady experiments, photos incoming, call the feds. Russo didn't ask questions, he just grunted, on it, and hung up. Barron fired off the pics, then peeled out of the lot, the ocean a dark smear on his left. By sunrise, the place was a circus. FBI vans clogged the street, agents in windbreakers hauling out computers and vials, while Hayes and his crew got cuffed in the parking lot. Local news vans circled like vultures, reporters shouting over each other, Trump's son uncovers dental scandal. Barron watched it unfold on his phone from the Mar-a-Lago kitchen, sipping coffee while the maid, Rosa, bustled around flipping pancakes. You a hero now, Mr. Barron? She teased, her accent thick from years in Miami. He shrugged, smirking. Just a guy who hates bad dentists, Rosa. Melania came down later, her chipped crown fixed by a no-nonsense guy in Boca Raton who didn't care about controversial figures. She looked flawless again, her smile small but genuine as she slid into a chair beside him. You didn't have to do all that, she said, pouring tea from a pot Rosa left steaming. Yeah, I did, Barron replied, meeting her eyes. Nobody messes with you, Mom, not on my watch. She reached over, ruffling his hair like he was still a kid in sneakers and a backwards cap. You're a good boy, Barron. Always were. He ducked his head, grinning despite himself. For a second, it was just them. No headlines, no chaos, just a mom and her kid over breakfast. But the vial nagged at him. He'd stashed it in a safe under his bed, next to a signed baseball from his dad's 2016 campaign, and a faded photo of him and Grandpa Fred fishing off Long Island. He hadn't told anyone, not Mike, not Mom, not even Rosa, who'd probably lecture him about playing with poison. What was it? Hayes's nanites story sounded half-baked. Micro-machines in your teeth? It was either genius or a lawsuit waiting to happen. Part of him wanted to chuck it in the ocean and forget it. Another part, the part that grew up hearing his dad's tales of outsmarting the system, wanted to crack it open and see what it could do. That night he stood on the balcony, the Atlantic stretching black and endless below. The wind whipped his hoodie, carrying the faint hum of helicopters still buzzing the dental office miles away. The headlines were everywhere. CNN, Fox, even some rando on X calling him Sherlock Trump. He scrolled through, half amused, half annoyed. Not even close, he muttered, pocketing his phone. The safe glowed in his mind's eye. He could hand the vial to the feds, let them figure it out. Standard play, clean hands. Or he could dig deeper. His dad always said, knowledge is power, kid. Don't give it away cheap. Maybe this was nothing, a dud from a 2-bit lab. Or maybe it was a key. To what? He didn't know yet. He leaned on the railing, the salt air cool against his face. Growing up, Trump meant normal was a pipe dream.
Every day was a roll of the dice, a chance to win big or crash hard. Today, he'd won. Mom was safe, the bad guys were toast. But that vial, that was tomorrow's roll. Barron turned back inside, the ocean's roar fading behind him. Whatever came next, he'd be ready. In this family, you had to be.
So what's your take on Barron's wild ride? Think you'd have stormed that dental office too, or would you have let it slide? We've all got a story of standing up for family, or maybe a time we wished we dug a little deeper when something smelled off. Share it with us. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, or hit us up on X with Palm Beach Mystery. And hey, this isn't just about chipped teeth and shady basements. It's about asking questions when the answers don't add up. Next time you're at the dentist, or anywhere, keep an eye out. You never know what's hiding behind those polished smiles. Want more stories like this, where everyday folks unravel big secrets? Subscribe now. Don't miss the next twist. Let's keep the truth in sight, one mystery at a time.